So when I first moved here, I was so excited to move to LA, and it was hard at first. Like, okay, what should I do for work, obviously? I was a bartender for like 6 years, so I'll bartend while I kind of figure out what I want to do with my life, really. Bartending was almost like my identity at that point, because I didn't even know how to do anything else. But I was very misaligned. That was like my year of stop staying stuck, stop playing small, stop being so scared. It's like it's all up to you now. Okay, Ashlyn, like you gotta step the fuck up right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 110 of the Andrew Deitsch podcast. I'm back here in my studio here in Atlanta. It's actually 1 o'clock in the morning. I just landed about a couple hours ago back from LA. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you don't know already, this show is all about having meaningful conversations with the most fascinating people that I know. And today I have a very special guest for you, all the way from LA, where I just was. And that is Ashlyn Showalter. She is no stranger to the show. She was actually the second guest I ever had on the podcast. It was even before the podcast really existed. I just asked her if we could record a podcast together, went over to her house, and times have definitely changed. But we actually recorded this in LA in my Airbnb that we had. I converted my bedroom into a little studio, as you can tell. So excuse any poor audio quality, but we made the best of what we had. But I think it turned out great. But Ashlyn actually is the founder of Love Your Body Academy. She's an online coach, and she helps women really regain their confidence, not only in their bodies, but also just taking control of their lives in all different aspects. And she's really amazing at what she does, and she's been killing it recently in her business. If you remember, back in the last episode, it was episode 2, she was actually talking about moving out to LA and how it was her dream to move out there. And actually right after we ended up recording that episode, she moved out there, and now she's really just living out her dream. She's an entrepreneur, she quit her job, and she just has a fascinating and amazing story. So please, without any further ado, give it up for the amazing Ashlyn Showalter. All right, Ashlyn Showalter, we're here, we're live. We're in LA.
Yeah, we are. We're in Venice.
Last time we recorded, we were like in your bedroom.
Yes.
In
Brookhaven.
In Brookhaven.
Yeah.
And it was much less production value.
Yes. Yeah, we had like a little recorder thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ew.
We had a little recorder thing, and we were literally just sitting on your bed.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing. The podcast still hadn't like been. There were no podcasts that existed on the internet. Like they were all just recorded. You were the second episode that I ever did. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy now.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah. I know. I remember I was like, you're starting a podcast? What is that? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And
now
you're
like,
sure.
So popular.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. And like, you were the second guest. Like, it's kind of crazy to think about. And now this is episode 110, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool number. 110. Yeah. I feel like 111 is kind of a cool one too.
I know. That's the good one.
Yeah. That's cool. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Ashlyn, tell the people a little bit about who you are. And obviously they can always go back and listen to episode 2 if they want. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cringy, to be honest. Like, I went back and listened to it. Like,
I know.
It's more cringy rough. For me because I'm like not very comfortable being a host yet. Yeah. I'm still like not as animated as I probably need to be. I'm like, all right, this is episode 2.
We all start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of fun to go back and listen. Probably now that I'm talking about it, more people are going to go listen, whatever.
I know. Yeah.
But your description has kind of changed of what you do and who you are. So, like, I guess kind of just let people know what's changed and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So, I believe back then I was doing personal training at Crunch, I think. And I was like, I want to move to LA, which is funny. We were talking about it on the podcast. And then I think probably like, I don't even know what the time frame was, but maybe like 2 months later, I moved to LA. And so I didn't do personal training when I got there. I just went back into bartending because that was kind of the easiest thing to like pay the bills and everything. So I did that for a little while, and then I decided to go all in on on just starting my own business and creating my own online business, because I saw kind of a gap in the fitness industry, especially with personal training. Like, you're only really with these people for an hour, and an hour, like if you're a fitness person, like, like an hour workout is actually not that much. Like, to actually do it really well, to rest properly, sometimes it takes like an hour and a half to get everything you need to do in. So that's kind of one thing, and then you're only really able to help that person with that workout in that hour. And you're not really teaching them how to work out on their own. Like, if they want more workouts outside of that, most people need more than 2 to 3 workouts a week. So, some people want like 4 to 5. And then also personal training, you can't really help people with their nutrition. And it's like, what's the point of exercising if you can't really help people with their nutrition? Because it's a big thing, like, it goes together big time. And then, also mindset stuff. And it's like, as a personal trainer, like, people are very underpaid for what they do, especially if you work at a gym. It's like, you're not even getting 50% of commission sometimes. And so not only are you underpaid and you're trying to help these people, like, you really want to help these people, but you're not seeing a lot of transformation, because it's a whole package that needs to like come together in order for someone to actually change their whole like life. Really, it's a whole lifestyle change. There's like sleep that goes into it, stress and everything, and you can't just monitor that as a personal trainer for someone outside of that hour you're with them. So I was like, and also you have a time cap, so you're just capped for the hours that you can spend in a day, and it's very energetically draining too. And so you're kind of capped at like the impact that you're able to make. So I decided to start my own little online business where I do, it's individualized coaching. So it's not just like a fitness program. Like, it's like a actual kind of transformation. Like, I kind of sometimes people are like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a lifestyle transformation coach or something like that, because it's really not just fitness, really. Like, I'm not just like...
It's a holistic approach.
Yes, exactly. Like, I help people with their nutrition, their workouts, obviously, but then I help them with mindset stuff. Like, I help them with their schedules. I help them with reducing stress and helping them sleep better. Like, it's because it's all goes hand in hand. And so that's what I do now. And I started that in June of 2018. So I've been doing it for like 6 months.
Yeah. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
And you moved out to LA, like you said, like about a year and a half ago. So there's like kind of like a year buffer where you're kind of like trying to figure it out.
Yes. I was trying to figure it out because I was like, I'm obsessed with like health and fitness, and like it's completely changed my life and been so healing for me. And so I'm just obsessed with it and helping other people figure the same thing out that I did. But I was just like, I don't want to be a person, like, I don't know, it just wasn't it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also, like, to touch on a thing that you mentioned, like the flaws of like personal training in a gym, like you said, you don't really teach these people how to work out on their own, which is kind of the goal, right? Like, obviously a trainer is really important, but at the same time, like, sometimes people don't have the funds or whatever, and that's why I think a lot of times they'll hire a trainer for a certain period of time, and then they're like, oh, I'm just going to do all the stuff that my trainer was showing me how to do.
Right.
But the problem is like trainers, that's kind of detrimental to their business model, because they don't want to teach you how to work out on your own, because then, then there's no incentive for them to work out with you.
Totally. Yes, exactly. So there's a lot of freaking gaps. And so I was like, I want to be able to create some sort of business model that supports me, so that I can actually help people to the best of my abilities, rather than me like struggling and being tired and like not actually helping people change their whole bodies and really their life. Like, it's all, and even some people will have a trainer and maybe lose some weight or whatever. I talk to people all the time, because these are the people that come to me, that they've either done like a Kayla It Signs BBG workout or whatever, or they've done some sort of workout and they're like, yeah, it was great. And then it's like, but they're not actually learning how to work out and how to eat healthy on their own, rather than just like, here's your workouts and stuff. And it's really good for people who are traveling too, because then you're not tied to a personal trainer's schedule.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Because
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, a lot of people probably are like, well, you're doing, all of your clients are online, right? Like, you don't have any physical in-person clients. So, like, you know, how am I going to get the attention that, you know, a personal trainer that would be right there with me, like, actually showing me the stuff, like, you know, how is that any better? You know what I mean?
Right. And, you know, and that's something that you have to figure out for yourself. And I think that's where kind of just confidence comes in. And I think people are maybe scared of being injured or anything like that. But it's like the way that I build my program is like, okay, here's, you know, especially if you're a beginner, it's like you'll do beginner things that you start to build up, like you start to get really good with your movement patterns, and you start to get good at squatting, you start to get good at certain things, and then you build. So, and I'm like so big on like dynamic warming up, like all, you know, making sure you're super warmed up and then stretching at the end. And so I think working out looks harder than it is. And I think trainers make it out to be that hard, but I personally don't think so. I see people in the gym all the time doing it on their own, and I'm like, they're fine. Like, you know what I mean? People are doing it anyways on their own, and it's better if you can have a coach that's helping you structure a workout program that's like specific to you.
Yeah. I think the problem with people working out on their own too is like they go into the gym without a plan, and they kind of just like, I'm going to do an arm day. And then, like, I'm guilty of this. Like, I'm going to do an arm day. And then I just kind of, as I go, think of, like, well, I should probably go do some curls. And I don't know, like, 3 sets for 10 reps. I don't know, you know, or whatever. Yeah. And so, like, it's not just having the guy with you, motivating you, because that is really helpful, you know, to have someone that's, like, pushing you. But at the same time, it's also a combination of probably when you're going in the gym by yourself, you're also not going in with a game plan. Right. You're just like, I'll do what that guy's doing. Yeah. He looks strong.
Or like, let me look up an Instagram workout. Yeah. But then the problem with that is that you're not actually doing progressive overload within an actual like program. So like you don't want to do something different every day. And that's what like, and there's like all this confusion in the fitness industry that's like, people are like, oh, you have to change your workouts up, you have to change them up or else you plateau. But that is true, but you have to do like a 4 to 6 week program of the same workouts within a week. And then every week you get better and you build on that. And that's how you build muscle. And that's how you, build muscle and progress, is just that progressive overload, adding weights and just getting better with your form, getting better at those movements. And then after that block is done, then you change them up again, and then you work towards that again. Yeah. And then again.
I think another thing that people, like me included, one of the things that's really hard for me when I'm working out by myself is getting my intensity up too. Yes. And like if you don't have a rep goal or a weight goal or whatever, like it's really easy to just be like, I'm tired or like whatever. But especially if you know, sometimes if you have a buddy there with you or a trainer there with you, like it's really, like me and Richard are working out together all the time. Like it's way more easy to like go way harder because you've got that other person that's like stoked and they're like there with you and whatever. So I think that's another thing where people are like, oh, well, the online trainer, I'm not going to have that guy like motivating me or whatever. But it's like, that's not stopping you from working out with a friend or like anything like that. Right.
But, and also I think a big thing too with having like, so I use an app for the workouts. So there's videos for every exercise. That's awesome. And then there's like, it's amazing. There's like a timer in there. I make all my clients track their weights in there because I want them to do progressive overload. And so it'll actually say like last week you did 100 pounds, and then when you hit a personal best, it's like, congrats, you hit a personal best. And like, dude, my clients love it, especially like women, because it's like so empowering and it's rewarding too, to the brain especially, because working out can be, people like, the mind frame that they usually have is like, ugh, like I have to work out. It's not fun. And it's a
long game for sure.
Yeah, but when you make it fun like that, where you're like, yay, I'm hitting personal best. And like, I'm always like telling my clients, like, get those, or like if I see that they got one, I'm like, good job. Like I see you're killing it on those personal bests, because it's really rewarding to your brain. And then it makes it super fun. And also when you have a plan too, that like you go through and you have to track your weights for everything, it makes you finish it. Like you're like, I have to track all of this. Like no one's just gonna, I mean, like there might be some times where people quit, but like I've even done it. Like I've had coaches, online coaches, and that's why I love it too, because it's been so helpful for me. But I, you know, I'll be on my thing and I'm like, okay, there's like 3 sets left or something. And I'm like, ugh. And then you just do them, you know, it motivates you to do them because you're like, okay, this is made for me. Like this is going to help me get to my goals. And, when you know that when you have confidence in what you're doing, that's really important. Yeah.
And another thing, like, I think we can talk about later too, is like the value of your programs too, because if you're paying like $5 for like, okay, cool, this guy wrote me some exercises, you're not going to take it as seriously as if you invest in like a $3,000 program or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you're spending the cash that, you know, it takes to hire someone like you, you're going to actually take it seriously. Yeah. And that's why, like, for example, like to attribute this to another industry completely, like Amazon and Google and all those companies, they would in a heartbeat hand you an Alexa or a Google Home for free because they want their little device in your house, because they want them, like even the HomePod or whatever with Apple, they want their assistant to be the assistant that comes to mind when you're asking for something, right?
Right.
But they've realized that when they give them out for free, people don't value them as much, and they think it's a freebie. So that's why they've figured out that they can discount them to the point where, oh, the Alexa thing is only $25. Of course I should buy this. Like it used to be $90 or whatever when they first came out. And that's the mentality that people have, is it's a value play rather than like Amazon's trying to infiltrate my house. It's more like, oh, this is a helpful thing, and it used to be really expensive and only for people that like had smart homes, but now I can like have a smart home or whatever.
Interesting.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah, that's crazy. Marketing and business, like just the way that they find.
Yeah, and the way that the brain works as far as perceiving value. Like if you gave something up for it, you're going to be way more likely to appreciate it. Like it's just how it works.
Totally. And I think a good example too of that in my own like program is I'll do like, you know, 5 or 7 day free challenges where I'll like go live in a Facebook group every day and I'll like give tons of value. This is like the value that I give to a lot of it to my clients. And I give them little challenges to do. I'll give them workouts and stuff. And, you know, people won't, like, there'll be like 5 people out of like 50 that will actually do the whole thing. And it's just, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all because I already know, because it's free. It's like here, like people don't actually think like this is going to give me value because they're not actually paying for it, because money is the highest form of commitment. So if someone like, and especially for me, like I know like if I pay for something like a good amount, like I'm gonna take care of it. Like for example, my Lululemon leggings, like I'm gonna wash them carefully. I'm gonna dry them. I'm not gonna like, you know, machine dry them. But my Forever 21 leggings that I paid like $15-20 for, I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah, and they got holes and rips and dog shit on them. And like whatever.
Exactly. So it's like you really like commit to that value. And it's also like Lululemon leggings, which are more expensive, are so much more quality. Like I'm the kind of person that I would actually rather not waste my money on stupid shit and pay for more for a good value thing that's actually going to serve me.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Maya on one of our podcasts, or the only podcast I recorded with her, but Maya, I think it was like episode 70, she talked about college in that way, where she was like, if I'm going to pay a lot of money for something, I want it to be like the highest quality, and I want, like, if it's a learning thing, like I want it to be something that I can, if I'm paying a lot, I want to be able to like reap the benefits quickly. Yeah. And if it's a cheap thing, it should be like a long time, but like, and maybe less quality or whatever. And that was like her problem with college, was like, it's really expensive. It's not the best quality because it's not highly like specialized for what I'm going to do. And it takes a long time. Like it's the worst value play.
It's the worst value
as far as that kind of stuff. But
your parents pay for it usually, so you're not even committed.
But that's why, yeah, exactly. And that's why the value proposition like doesn't make sense to students, because they're not the one having to pay. Yeah. And you know, whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. We actually talked about that a decent bit on the last podcast of how both of us didn't finish college, which is kind of cool.
Me neither.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that I chat with on this podcast, because it's really hard to be an advocate for not going to college without seeming like a douche and not seeming like you're an idiot too. Because it's like you can't ignore the fact that college is beneficial for people in the long run, but it's also a really expensive thing and it can be detrimental to people, and that's the hard pill to swallow. And it's really
I think the worst thing about college, in my opinion, is just simply the mindset that your parents have given you that this is your only way. This is it. Like, and I mean, like, and I talk to my clients about like even their purpose and like what they want to do, because a lot of not all of my clients, but a lot of them are like searching, like they're like in jobs that they don't really love, and and they've just grown up with that mindset, which I did too, and do I keep hitting this mic?
I think you're typically hitting like right below it, so you're good.
Okay, I'm like, I don't know why I keep hitting my chest.
I think you did that last time. That's just like an Ashlyn move.
It must be a thing.
Like,
is that
for people
weird?
that are just listening, she's like like touching her chest, like I do this.
Yeah, me.
No,
like
it's
I
fine.
don't know.
It's not a weird thing.
Yeah, but I don't even know what I was saying.
I totally get what you're saying. Like, and also
because then they get stuck in that, you know, and
people
they
don't
think
know what
that's
they really
the only
want.
way, and then their mind doesn't actually search. Like, you have to sort of reframe your mind so that it starts to search for other ways that you can be. I'm like, you can enjoy your job, you can be really fulfilled, you can have fun and be exciting and like do things that you love. Just keep thinking that way, and then you'll find it. It just might not be there right now.
And your clients are like exclusively, what's your niche? Like, I know that it's like all women, right?
Yes.
It's all women, and they're all, what's your target market?
Yeah, so I would say women who are like 25 to 35. I just really relate with women that are that age.
Single, right?
Yes, single women. I like working with single women. I do have some clients who have really awesome like boyfriends and husbands that are supportive, but I've gotten on the phone with people and they're like, their husband wasn't very supportive of them, and that just like, that kills me. I hate that.
Because you're in a really supportive relationship.
Yes.
Like Chad is like really,
he's amazing,
gung-ho for like anything you want to do.
Yes,
I feel like
he is,
which is really cool.
Yeah, he's amazing. But yeah, and just like, you know, professional women who are, you know, real estate agents, I have a couple nurses, really any job where they can kind of commit to a program, I guess.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I remember we were talking about this in the car one time, like you really, when you're finding your like niche market or whatever, you said like it kept popping up that these women were like always working with you, and you're like, oh, this is my like niche or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you, like you said, you really related to them. But it's kind of cool because also I think there's probably a little bit of imposter syndrome, like talking to like older people sometimes, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, totally.
Like you know, giving advice to like older people. But it's really cool because now I feel like you're super confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in the beginning it was like a little challenging.
Yes, for sure. I think so. And I have a few clients who are older than me, but it's great because they trust me as the authority in kind of my field, which is cool. And I feel like, I've built up a lot of confidence now because I have gotten, like, my clients are doing so well. Like, I'm really able to like get them to their goals and even more, like, you know, and so it's really cool. And it's not just the physical at this point. It's just like, you know, like I get texts, they're like, you're, you know, my life is like changed because of this program. My husband's life has changed because of this program. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want.
That's
because
really cool.
That's what happened to me. So
yeah,
it's cool.
Okay. So
Makes
I want to
tear up a little.
Yeah. I want to go back to this in a little bit about like your program and starting it and everything, because I think it's really fascinating, especially like figuring out, you know, you went from you moved out here, you like kind of were trying to figure things out for like a year, and then you started your business. I want to go back and talk about that because I think that's really fascinating for people. But let's go
you have
back.
a lot of entrepreneurs that
definitely, and aspiring entrepreneurs and all that. But let's go back a little bit because I want to talk about that time when you did move here and you went to Hoffman, right?
Yeah.
And like I'd love to kind of hear your opinions and thoughts on that period of time because it's, you know, you were working as a personal trainer, you knew that's kind of what you wanted, but then when you came out here, so just kind of like let us know what up.
So so when I first moved here, so LA was, I was so excited to move to LA, and it was hard at first, honestly, like just not knowing anyone really, just like, you know, I had a really good, you know, like my group of friends in Atlanta were so amazing and I loved them so much. And so I think that was probably the hardest part, just not having my little community. And so it was hard, I'm not gonna lie. But it was amazing because Chad is super supportive and everything. And so it was, at first I was like, okay, what should I do for work, obviously. So I was a bartender for like 6 years. So I was like, okay, that's easy, quick, you know, I'll bartend while I kind of figure out what I want to do with my life, really. And so I was bartending and I was working at a really cool, like rooftop patio. And I was just not figuring it out. Like, I'm like, what is going on?
The bartender life is weird, you know, late nights and
it's the worst.
Weird people.
Yeah. I try to like think of the positives and be really thankful for it because it allowed me so much flexibility. It allowed me to like work out in the day, and everyone's really nice in the industry. I made some good coworker friends and everything. And it was great money. Like I made really good money, and I was very lucky because I got one of the really good jobs in LA, but it is really draining. And like there were nights where I would sleep like 4 hours, and that's so not good for you, especially working out, and your circadian rhythm gets messed up. And I'm like a morning person, but then I was also a night person, and so I'm like not sleeping well. So it was really exhausting, and I was serving people alcohol, which like, and I've said this so much, I probably said this on the last one, like I'm like serving people alcohol and I'm like so healthy. So, and I'm just seeing so much like shit happen. It's like you see fights every night, and you just see people like talking shit to each other, and like you just see the worst of people. So it starts to like get to you a little bit.
And you can, and because like I said, I was listening to our podcast that we recorded 1.5 years ago this morning, and it was interesting because you were talking about how like in your life too, when you were in college, like you were drinking a lot and stuff to like mask and hide a lot of the things that you didn't want to address in your own life. Yeah, so like you know what it's like to be in that place. You've been kind of come out of it, but then you're still like watching all these people. And also being the fucking server. Like here you go. Here's more alcohol.
Poison yourself
and like
more.
Part of your job to like make more money is to like encourage them to drink more and
Wants
shit.
more shots? Like, I know. It was so, I was very like, you know, people say like you're not aligned with your true self. Like I was not aligned. Like I was very misaligned. Like just my energy was not there, and it was tough. So, and probably a reason why I, you know, when I see people like that, it just reminds me of my like darkest self. And so I probably like, you know, it makes me cringe because it's depressing. It is depressing. But yeah, and so then
was like, so you really wanted to get out of there. Obviously it wasn't like the ideal situation, but what was the like catalyst that like finally made you like, I'm out of here, like I'm gonna figure this out and do something else?
So I went to Hoffman, like you were saying.
What was Chad went to Hoffman, right?
So basically,
or he was gonna go and you guys went on separate weeks or something? Okay.
So basically,
tell people what Hoffman is.
Okay. So Hoffman is a kind of self-growth retreat. You go there for like 6 days. You don't have your you basically turn in your phone, you turn it off, so you don't have phone, you don't have Wi-Fi, and it's basically, they say it's kind of like a trip from your head to your heart. So you really get out of your own freaking head, and you start to really like embrace your inner self, and just it's like just, self-love is like one of those trends right now, but it's like self-love. Like that is like what I feel like I really found there a lot. And I think it's a process, like self-love. It's not like, oh, this one retreat gave me that, because it really didn't, but it helped me a lot. And it helped me find like a lot of compassion for myself. And it also made me realize that everyone is struggling with a lot of the same stuff. And it gave me a lot of compassion. And I think it really helped me become a better coach, because I'm so compassionate, and I just get where everyone is coming from. And so I'm able to just like coach them really well. I don't know, and because I went through this shit myself. So I went through a lot of like, getting past, so basically, we all have like these patterns that we go through. It's like these automatic, your subconscious mind just is what 90% carries you through life, basically. And most of the patterns are automatic, and we learn them from our families, our parents, and, even if we have like grandparents or whatever. And we literally don't even know that we have these patterns sometimes, but they can actually like really impact your life, like the way you believe, what you believe about love, and like your ability to receive love, and how your different fears, even like down to like patterns around like stress. Like, how did your parents carry stress? And you probably just naturally do the same thing, because that's what was modeled to you. So we like take on these patterns, and basically Hoffman is just like first kind of figuring out your patterns and because we all have those little things. Like we all know like there's something that is stopping me in this area, or like what is that? Why can't I break through? Like what is that that's really stopping me? Or like sometimes I would even and I think it showed up a lot in my relationship with Chad. That was probably my biggest thing. And just nothing bad, but it was just like there were certain times that I'm like, what is either preventing me from fully receiving love or giving, or just, and so I think that was just the biggest thing. And so Hoffman really helps you, one, identify them, and then learn how to just break through them to where you're almost like that onion like thing, and you're just peeling back this shit that's not even you. Like you're like shaking it off. And so you're no longer like going through life automatically just reacting and responding the way you usually do. So you're actually able to like make a decision that's conscious.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you found out about Hoffman through Chad, right? Because he was going to go to it? No,
so we both found out about Hoffman from one of our friends that we really respect. I think the doctor that I've told you about.
Yeah.
And his husband went to Hoffman, and like I saw him before Hoffman, and then I saw him after Hoffman, and I was like, what is this? I need it. I need this in my life. Like he was just so full of joy, and like just so different. Like it was amazing. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so me and Chad were like, we need this, because we're like all about like growing and self-growth and just like trying to be better. And so we were like, okay, we need this. And so we signed up together, but you don't want to go with someone that you know. So he did the week before, and then I did the week right after. So yeah. And so
what did he tell you when he came back, or did you even like talk? Was it like that quick of a flip-flop?
It was pretty quick, but I saw him. I went to dinner with him and some of his friends that he met there before I went in, and they were all just like so happy and free, and I was like, oh, I was so nervous. But
that's funny.
But that's the thing. You can't really. It's like this thing about Hoffman. You can't really talk about it. Like
it's like Fight Club.
It's like just go and it will change your life. Like you're with like 39 other people, and like every single person has some sort of just massive transformation or breakthrough throughout the week that you're like, wow. Like the
That's
first
cool.
group, like when you first meet these people, and then the end of the week, it's crazy. And they're all like your best friends by the end of the week.
That's really cool. It's like summer camp.
Yeah. And you meet really cool people.
Isn't another thing they can't tell you what their profession is too? Like everyone doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's like Survivor. Like when you get on the island, like no one wants to say what they do in real life.
Yeah. It's so cool. So you get to know people and you don't have that like anxiety about like, cause I was bartending. Okay. And so I was actually one of the youngest people in my group because it's actually more of a, like probably older people,
and
more
it's like
older
kind of
people
expensive,
go,
right?
and it's expensive.
Yeah, so
it's so I was like, you know, like I'm a bartender, you know, but it's like I just got to go into it and not have to say what I do, and
you're
I
like
just
everyone's
got to
on a
know.
level playing field.
Yeah, I just
you
got
all
to know
spent
people.
the money to be there. You all are there for the
uh-huh.
same reason.
And you
Like,
get to
doesn't
know
really
people
matter.
on like a soul level, like what they've been through, what they're working through, and you're just like, oh wow, like we're all so similar.
Was there any like crazy things like, at the end of the week you were like, holy shit, I never expected this guy was that, or like whatever?
I'm trying to think. Like one of my like small group ladies works for the guy who started the Human Genome Project, which is like pretty big, and she's pretty cool. She's like a scientist, and I thought that was really cool. And she's like, my goal in life is just to like be someone that like changes the world, and I thought that was cool. And then there was another lady who was like the secretary or something, or assistant to Obama during his presidency or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was because I was like, there was so much energy. Yeah. But there's like really
something
influential, really
That's cool.
influential people that go there. And so it's really cool.
That's dope. So when you came out of that, what was it like for you? Because obviously like you saw Chad and like everyone and you're like, oh my gosh. So how was it for you like coming out? Like,
so it was amazing. Probably 100% best that I've ever felt in my entire life. Like it's like you get out of there and you have done so much work. You do some physical stuff, you do mental stuff, you do emotional stuff, you do like everything. And so when you come out of there, it's like every little emotion, negative emotion, and like little tension, stress, it's gone. Like it is gone. Like I had, you know, we all have these little aches and pains and everything, and it's like I walked out of there like I could just jump around and dance, and I'm like feel so good, you know. It was crazy.
Do you think it was also probably, I mean, it's a combination, I'm sure, of like just on a retreat, like you said, from your real life. Like you're just there, like no stress from your job. Like it's all of that combined with like the actual impact of what they're doing there. But not only just that break from real life. Yeah.
But I walked out of there and I was like you're just very open and you're very loving. And you act like, for me, I actually felt like I was like tripping on shrooms a little bit, like in a slight way. Like I was just so open and emotional and just like happy, and just like legit, you feel the wind on your face and you're like, whoa, that's amazing.
You're like, whoa, the wind.
Yeah, it's crazy. You see the leaves and you're just like, because nature is a big part of it too. Like, and
that's cool.
You're just really in touch with just the little things in life, and you're so much gratitude, and just it's amazing. And so so that was probably like my main feeling. And then I just realized, like, I think my biggest lesson was like, you know, don't dim my light for anyone. Like just be myself and just spread my own like authenticity and love, and whoever needs to receive it will receive it. And I'm doing the world a disservice by being stuck in fear and not doing something that I feel really passionate about, and sharing my talents with the world, basically.
That's a really good point. I like that. Like, I say that a lot. Like, it's doing yourself a disservice or doing the world a disservice, because like, you're bringing value to a lot of people's lives with what you're doing right now. And if you wouldn't have figured that out for yourself, those people might not figured it out for themselves.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
Yeah, and like even, you know, with this podcast, like sometimes I feel discouraged about like, oh, you know, it's not as big as I want it to be, or like there's not as many people listening or whatever. But then I get these like super encouraging messages that are like, oh my gosh, this episode that I wasn't even like that crazy stoked on. Like, okay, it was a good episode, but it wasn't like the best ever. And then people message me like, oh my gosh, that was the best podcast I've ever listened to, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
that's
whoa.
such a good feeling.
Yeah, it's dope, right? Because you're like, wow, this thing that I've been doing for a while is like paying off, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And like you never know how it's going to impact someone else. I think the most important thing is just like take action. You know what I mean?
Take action. That
and
is
do
like
something.
Totally. That is like the biggest thing that's just been my biggest lesson last year in 2018. I feel like that was like my year of like stop staying stuck, stop playing small, stop being so scared. Like I was terrified. It was like bartending was almost like my identity at that point because I didn't even know how to do anything else. And so like it was like I was so scared. I was like, how am I gonna am I gonna pay my bills? It's like like if anyone's watching this is like wanting to start their own business, like I get how scary it is. And it's like it's all up to you now. It's like I think that's one of the reasons why it took me so long is because like, okay, Ashlyn, like you got to step the fuck up right now. Like it's actually all up to you. Like bartending doesn't take much. You go there and you do this stupid whatever, this little dance. Yeah. And then, but starting your own business, like you got to be consistent. You got to be organized. You got to like wear all the hats. You got to show the fuck up. Like you got to take care of yourself. Like you have to, I mean, so many things. Like, and so it's like, okay, like step the fuck up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think something that really helped me too was, like we were saying, you know, it's doing the world a disservice for me to not show the fuck up. And I think for me personally, it helps me to not just do something for myself because I'm not as motivated. Like humans will I tell my clients this all the time, like humans will let themselves down before they'll let other people down.
100%.
So if you can kind of like put your motivation in like helping other people, then you'll actually like do some things. Yeah. But if it's just for you, it's like you don't have that same level of energy.
100% agree. Like that was the biggest thing that when I started the podcast was really challenging was no one had ever listened to an episode. So there's no implication if I like didn't make it or not. Like I recorded like 10 episodes before it launched, and it was like, you know, there were some times where I was working so hard on it. I'm like I don't even know if anyone's gonna care or whatever.
Right, totally. And that's exactly same thoughts.
Yeah, and like you're working on your own business, and like you've got a little like website or something that you kind of created, or you've got like you made like a new email address, and you're like, you know, doing like, shit. Yeah,
the little things.
It is funny how the little things are what like solidifies. Like, okay, well now there's no turning back. Like making a logo or something.
Totally.
Like, well now there's no turning back. There's already a logo.
Yeah.
Like it's real. You know what I mean? Like every business has a logo. I guess it's real now or whatever. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. Oh well, I got my website now. Oh, I already paid for Squarespace for a year. Like I gotta make it. Gotta do it or whatever.
Totally.
And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like once you like make those little commitments, and I'm super big on that. Like I'll let myself down before I let other people down.
Totally.
A lot. And one thing that's cool about the podcast, like getting more listeners, is now I feel more when I'm like tired or whatever. I'm like I still need to put episodes out because there are people like waiting. Yeah, there are people like waiting to hear another one. I'm like, damn it, I want to sleep. Or like
that's
whatever.
How I am with my Instagram. Like I'm just like, oh, like sometimes I'm like, okay, I gotta like show the fuck up, Ashlyn. Like people need to hear what I have to say. Yeah. Even though for the longest time I was like, people don't give a shit about what I have to say. Like what do I even have to say?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's probably what a lot of people think.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's cool when you do find that niche, you do find where people find your value, because then you can double down on that, right?
Yes.
Like it's I was going to say something earlier. You were talking about like finding your actual purpose or whatever, and like having a value in doing a thing. Like you had so much energy in being a bartender because it was the only thing you felt like you knew how to do, right? Yeah. Like a lot of people get that where they get to a point where they don't feel like they know how to do anything. They're so stuck.
Yeah.
And they've invested so much time into a specific career where they don't even know how to break out.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I've thought about this a lot recently, is all the skills that and relationships that I've built over the past few years. I'm not worried about if, like, my podcast fails or, like, if something happens with my stream of income, because I know how to do all these weird little things, and I have so many cool connections that if it really got down to the nitty gritty and I was like homeless or something and like, something really bad happened, I could reach out to a bunch of people and be like, yo, I really need some help. I really need a job. I really need a thing. And that's more valuable than like knowing any sort of specific like skill. Like those relationships are really crucial.
Totally.
And that's another thing that, building your own business, like when you're talking about being a personal trainer, you're completely undervalued as a trainer.
Yeah.
But but the real value in like starting a business is the gym is generating those leads for you a lot of times. Like you're getting clients because you're at the gym.
Yeah.
The gym also owns all the equipment. So it's like, where else are you going to train these people? They're having to pay overhead for that stuff. Like, but I was watching this thing Richard showed me the other day that was like this hierarchy of value, and like the lowest like value is like physical labor, right? You're literally just like moving shit.
Yeah.
And then the next layer is like there's all these different layers, and then like it gets to like ideas and thoughts and concepts, and then the like very top one is like connections and like sales and like getting actual like things attracted to you, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people probably have the skills and whatever, but they don't have that like magnetic personality that you need, or the skills to like bring on, or the people skills or whatever to like actually talk and interface with people face to face to get them to believe in what you have going on. And like that's the thing that I think a lot of personal trainers depend on the gym for. And that's why they might feel stuck there, because they're like, I don't know how to like do my own thing or make my own website or do my own online thing. So like what was the thing that kind of broke you out to say that, okay, I can do this on my own? Like after Hoffman, right?
Yeah. So, and I also want to say too, especially if there's anyone watching this that doesn't feel like they have those people skills or anything, or like have a certain skill that you need, like nothing, like, yes, some people have certain little innate talents and whatever, but I firmly believe that you can learn anything. So if you don't have people skills, that's fine. I bet you if you put your head down and said, my goal for the next year is to learn people skills, in 1 year, you'll be the best at it. Like, it's not just something that you should just shrug off and let yourself, like, let that stop you, because that is something, like, for me, like sales, that was hard for me in the beginning. Like I was like, oh my God, like I have to sell things, like, and
I'm not pushy. I'm gonna be. They're gonna ask for a discount. I'm just gonna give it to them or something.
Totally,
like I don't know.
Totally. Yeah. And I feel like health and fitness professionals too are like that. Like we're very like, I've just met so many, and I feel like, this is a generalization, but I feel like we really do want to help people. That's probably why we're in this. So it's hard to like ask for, like actual compensation, especially in an industry that we are so undervalued. Yeah. When I feel like, since health is literally the foundation of your life, you can't enjoy your life without being healthy. Why is that the most like underpaid industry? It's so crazy, but honestly, I feel like it's because people are they don't value themselves enough to actually ask for it.
And there's not enough of like a pain point. Like they're not so obese or so fat that they're like on the verge of death. They're not like, so unhappy with their physical appearance that they're like willing to spend, because like you said, the highest form of commitment is money, right?
Right.
So it's like they're not ready to like make that jump or whatever.
Totally.
And that's like the same thing with a lot of industries right now, because of the internet and because of like things that for example, like photography has become severely like undervalued, because people are like, back in the day, you had to like hire someone with a camera. Like, I don't have a camera, so I need to hire a photographer to take photos for me.
Right.
But now everyone has a phone in their pocket with a camera, so everyone thinks they're a photographer, right?
True.
And then they're sitting there wondering, why does that guy's photos look so much better than mine?
Right.
And it's because they're an actual photographer.
Right.
And they have the like skills.
Yeah.
Same thing with a personal trainer. Like, I'm doing the same like you know, I'm in the same gym as this guy for the same amount of time. Why is he so jacked and I'm not, or whatever?
Yeah.
And I think personal trainers especially, or just people that are really fitness savvy and they make it a point to like learn a lot of that stuff, is they undervalue the amount of like almost obsessive nature that you can have over certain things like that. Like you were asking me, how did you learn all this stuff with like audio stuff? I'm like, I'm a fucking dork. Like I watch YouTube videos about cameras and shit. Like
that's what I do with fitness.
Yeah, exactly. Like and same with like you know, I'll do that too. And like Richard, like I'll walk in on him and he's like watching some video about like a bodybuilder talking about his like fitness journey and stuff like that. And like that's what people don't understand is like not only are they paying for like the skills that you have as like, okay, yeah, I'm a certified personal trainer, but they're also paying for like all of that like stuff that like you can't quantify.
Yes.
Like, and that's where, you know, hiring someone that's really, really skilled in their position, you're kind of like trying to weigh the pros and cons, like, well, like how much, you know, like how good can they be or whatever. But like those little things, like when you find the right person, like you got to really latch on to that because, you know, those non-quantifiable mental things are sometimes the things that make all the difference, right?
Yeah.
Like working with like working with Simon, like a really, really amazing photographer versus someone who's like just getting started who can maybe like get some cool pictures, but like, you know, Simon like knows exactly what he's doing. Like it's those types of differences.
Totally. Yeah. And also just, you know, a lot of people think that they can do it on their own, which they can, and they can get to a certain point perhaps, but most people don't actually have the time and energy and money that I've invested into actually learning this stuff and like hours spent in the gym experimenting on my own body and, you know, and investing in my own coaches and all that stuff that, you know, sometimes people need someone to be like, here's the plan.
Exactly.
Like this takes the willpower out of it.
That's why businesses hire consultants, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
they're
outsourcing.
hiring exactly.
It's outsourcing.
And you're basically like a consultant, right? Like they're hiring you to be like, I don't want to spend the time.
This is what you do. I got your back. Like I'll help you with your schedule. Like I got you. You know, here's some support. And there's also like what I've learned 3 things that actually create like results, like those actual real results that you want. And that is 1, the strategy, which is just like, okay, nutrition and fitness, you know, the actual technical parts of it, which can go way wrong. And there's millions of videos all over the internet. There's Instagram, YouTube, there's articles on how we should be eating. All of the free information is out there, everything. And the problem is that there's so much that you don't know how to actually apply it to your own physique. And training a male physique, training a female physique, training an older woman versus a younger woman, training someone who wants to really build muscle, someone who just wants to kind of like tone up. Like it's so different. Like, and it's like that knowledge is and just finding the right strategy that works for you specifically is a big key, but that's not it. Like that's not even it. Like the second is mindset, and like mindset's super overlooked in a lot of fitness stuff, and that is like basically helping people retrain what they already believe about health, like that, you know, that we've heard, you know, from our parents, from society, like carbs are bad or carbs are good or whatever. Like some people look at a certain food and they're like, this is going to be healthy for me, this is going to be not healthy for me. So we all have like this like thing about health, like what is health? Like some people look at, some women especially, like probably men too obviously, but just from my perspective, you know, look at exercise and eating right as punishment. So it's like this, everyone has a different like identity of health. So with the mindset stuff that I try to help clients with is like, what's your identity of health that you believe? What do you believe about health? And how can we shift that to being like, exercise is fun, you're eating foods that make you feel good rather than just like I'm eating chicken and broccoli or I'm dieting. And it's also changing your identity of health as well, because that's when actual change happens. When you shift even the little words of like I'm losing weight or I'm toning up or I'm getting fit, rather than like I'm fit, I am healthy. Like that's a part of your identity now. And then you don't have to work hard to do anything, because like someone will be like, here, like, have this piece of cake. And you're like, no, like, I just don't put those foods in my body. Like, not like I'm losing weight right now.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
There's
exactly.
a big shift between those two things. And so I try to help my clients learn how to like actually shift their whole identity to where they're like, this is me now. Like, I'm healthy. Like, I do this because it's really good for my body.
Yeah. And another thing that's interesting about like sweets and like stuff like that like when you don't consume them for a while and you do have this like period of like being good, you're like whatever.
Yeah.
Like your tastes and everything do change, like for sure. Like I try to drink soda now and it's like I can't do it because it's really way too sweet for me.
Yeah.
And that's not just me being like, oh, I don't drink soda, it's just way too sweet. It actually is. Like I try to, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I haven't had Fanta in a long time. I used to love that stuff. I kind of want a sip of it.
Yeah.
And I sip it and I'm like, I don't even like this anymore. It's very odd.
Yeah.
And I can drink like a, you know, sparkling water or something and I'm like, oh, this is good. And before I'd be like, this doesn't even have any flavor or whatever.
Yeah.
Like your taste buds and your tastes and your body can change. The body's like super resilient and super like dynamic. You can change your lifestyle and you can change like what you're eating and all that type of stuff. So I think a lot of times people think like, I love cake too much to be able to ever give it up. So I don't want to like think about never putting those foods in my body again or whatever.
Right.
But eventually you might be convinced that way without even having to think about it.
Right. Yeah. And also to kind of go off of that, like, especially what I've learned to actually, you know, make a sustainable change is like, you can have some cake. Like, you actually can. Like, I'm like the coach that's going to be like,
if it
like
fits your
some
macros.
of my clients are so all or nothing, and all or nothing doesn't work because that's not what's going to work if you go traveling and if you go home for Thanksgiving. Like, you know, you need to learn, like, I have to help people literally learn, like, you are okay. Like, some, like, you know, some clients I'll be like, I want you to actually eat some chocolate this week. Like, just put it in and like realize that you're gonna be fine. Like, you know, so that you can learn how to have a balance of it rather than just like all or nothing. Like either I'm eating healthy or I'm just like binging, you know? So it's like, no, let's like bring a little bit, you know, together. So you're eating mostly, you know, good foods to fuel your body, but then, you know, you can factor in little things throughout the week so that you're not deprived and you're enjoying your life. Like, it should be fun.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's go back to like when you first started, because we kind of like didn't really address like how you started your client business. So like when you first were like, I'm gonna break out of bartending. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, so I actually found a business coach. So that was my probably biggest thing. So I think first I was still bartending and I was like, okay, let me, like the online thing. I've actually always wanted some sort of online thing because I'm like, I can reach a lot of people. I feel like it's just a good business model. You don't have to be in person. Your time is not exchanged for money. And so I was like, okay, let me try like just the online training. And so I had a couple clients here and there. I didn't really have like a good package. I didn't really know how to get clients. Like, I'm like, how do you even market? How do you even sell your services? And so I was like, this sucks. Like, this is going to be really hard. And so then I came across this business coach. His name's Sterling Griffin, and his business is the Life Changer Academy, LCA, if there's any health and fitness trainers on here. It's amazing. It's literally changed my life. And so I found that, and I watched a couple videos, and I was like, okay, this guy's super weird and super funny, and I feel like this is gonna be great. And he, you know, I think I tried a couple of his tips, and I was like, all right, this kind of works. And so I decided to it was a lot of money. It was very expensive. And for me, and like everyone else, money is like the highest level of commitment. So I was like, dude, if I'm like paying this much money, like I'm gonna fucking do this. Like I'm gonna like sit on YouTube, learn sales training. Like I'm gonna like implement everything. I'm gonna make these videos that he wanted me to make when I was terrified to like be on camera and like, talk about my program or talk about, and so I just like went all in on it. And I was like, if I have a system that's going to work that I can do, like it's all up to me, but he taught me just a system of like how to message people. And like if someone asks for help with something or asks about your program, what do you do from there? Like, what do you like before I'd be like, I don't know, like you just message them back and just be like, cool, this is my price, like this is whatever. But it's not like that. You have to go through a process of like, one, getting people really clear on their goals, and then also just really explaining the value of what you're providing. And then you also have to get them super committed. Excuse me. You have to kind of get them super committed. And you're also, you don't, like, I don't take on everyone. Like, there's lots.
Not a good fit.
Yeah. So you have to actually, like, I have an application process. So I don't just take everyone on, because I have a little community, and like I work with my clients very closely. So I like want to enjoy working with them. And you can't really motivate people necessarily. You can give them the tools, but if they're not really committed and motivated, then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the process, is like vetting out the people who aren't really committed. And
yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it's kind of like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, kind of thing. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So the fact of like you joining this program, it gave you kind of that like structure, and you also developed like no power, like having the power to say no to clients and stuff, rather than just like taking on every client that came your way because you're afraid you couldn't pay the bills or whatever.
Exactly. It's almost switching from that like scarcity mindset of like, how am I going to get my next client or whatever, to like an abundance client or an abundance like mindset where you're like, let me just provide as much value as I can and get really good at what I do. And then people that need my help will come to me, and just continue to talk about how, like, literally just be as authentic as I can in my content on Instagram, because that's, being yourself draws people who are like you to you. Which I love. I'm like, cool. Like, cause I'm a great client to people. Like with my business coach, I'm like, I take action, like, and a lot of people are like that, where they actually don't know the strategy or the mindset stuff really, or they don't have the accountability. Those are the three things. But they have the personality where they'll like take action on it. Some people are not like that. Like they won't take action, even if they have some help with mindset, help with accountability, like all that stuff. So
how do you weed that out in the application process? Like, can you kind of tell sometimes just like by vibing people out?
Yeah.
Do you do like video calls with them when you're doing the applications?
I don't do video calls, but I do phone calls with them.
Gotcha.
I should do video calls. It just seems like sometimes a lot. Sometimes some people don't.
Some people are weird about it, and also like sometimes you're not in the right environment to do the video call.
Yeah, totally. Like in my house, like yeah.
Like I'm pretty open with video calls sometimes. So people are like, "Yo, can we do a video call at 10 a.m.?" Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Sure, I'll be in my kitchen, like, but sure, if you want to be on video, dope." Yeah, like, exactly. It's sometimes helpful for people to be on video. And also, especially with an application thing, like I was doing like job application stuff for like the internship program that I was doing. And like I had some video interviews, and you can just kind of tell by the seriousness of the people, like if they are like kind of like a little bit nervous to like meet you, and they're like like set up like a good station for like they look good on camera and whatever, they're like taking it seriously, versus like someone else on their phone that's like looking at you like this. It's like you don't care. You're just trying to like get an internship to like check it off your list. You're not actually wanting to work with me.
That's a good call.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but there's like those little things that I used to not think mattered that much when I was on the application side of things, but they totally matter when you're like overanalyzing someone, trying to hire them for something or whatever, or they're a potential client, because you're like, like
it's how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes.
So if they're not really engaged on that just one phone call, that's how they're going to be the whole time. Yeah. Like that's like if you make your bed in the morning, that's probably how your day is gonna go. Because if you're someone that's like, you make your bed, you do the things, like it's almost like how you do something is how you just do everything.
Yeah. Me and Richard were talking about making our beds the other day, because I was like, I've like, obviously my bed is destroyed right now because we're in my Airbnb bedroom and we destroyed it so I can make this recording space.
I know.
But we were talking about making our bed, and he was like, the three people that make their bed are people who are in the military, people that went to rehab, or people that are OCD, or like something like that.
That's hilarious.
But it was like so funny because it's like totally true. Cause like
that's funny. I make my bed every morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you always?
No.
When did you start?
Probably like, I don't know, when I first got into fitness, and I think I was reading a lot of like, you know, Tim Ferriss stuff and like, you know, just the things like, and it was like, he talked about morning routines and how to set yourself up for your day. And I'm like the type of person, like maybe I am a little OCD, but I'm also not that organized. Like that's the thing. I'm like, I don't know. Like I have a certain personality, and
well, OCD doesn't really mean you're organized. Just like it's obsessive compulsive, right? Like you obsess over having the clean room, or you obsess over like everything being a certain way. It might not even be the most like optimized or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not OCD, so I'm probably botching it. People are like, that's not what OCD is. But like,
oh yeah,
like,
people are gonna be like, what the fuck? I have OCD, you asshole.
Yeah, you fucking dick. No, but like,
OCD is like I actually went to a mental health kind of conference, and there was like, you know, 4 people that talked about OCD, and actually every single one of them, it showed up in a different way. So it's actually very like way more than like
some people
what
it's
we
like,
think it
some
is.
people
it's actually pretty like the people that have it and like conquer it, like I'm just like, you are amazing. Like it's actually like a legit like crazy thing.
Yeah, and sometimes your brain is telling you like weird things, like you have to do this 3 times, or like,
your mom will die.
Yeah, like
that's
they think like crazy
and
shit.
And then you literally, they believe it. Like they believe it, and it's like that's scary. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know how that
thought
develops,
if I had to do all these things, or my like sister would die or something, I would be doing them all. Like
I remember someone was telling me about like one of their siblings had to have like, you know, something in their room in case something happened, or like they always had to have like a like something under their bed or something like that, like in, you know, because they were like, well, what if this happens in the night? It's like, that's not gonna fucking happen.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
but they
legit and but it's like, it's, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think what I was gonna say. But yeah, I'm not OCD, but I think I am the type of person that like,
you're disciplined.
If I can do anything that will give me even a little edge, like I want to do it if it doesn't take a lot out of me. I'm like, why would I not? Like if making my bed just makes me feel a little more clear-headed and just sets me up for the day, why would I not? It takes me 1 second. Like it takes me literally pull done.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So
yeah, and that's another thing, like working from home, you work from home a lot. So like the way that your home is set up, like, can kind of have an effect probably on your work environment.
For sure.
What has that been like for you? Like making that change from working in, you know, a bar to working at home and setting your own hours and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
so that was really hard for me, and I'm still working on my schedule and being organized, because like there's some nights that I'm working till like 8:30 p.m. because I wasn't productive enough during the day. Or like being an entrepreneur, you always feel like there's something you could be doing. Like you could do, like yesterday I did an orientation call for a new client, which I do on video, and I like those. But I had like a sales call. I like made a meal plan for one of my clients. I worked out. I did all the thing. Like I did so much more. And then I was still like, oh, but I still have more to do. Like, cause you do everything. Like I could write an Instagram post right now, or like I could set myself up for tomorrow, or like I could message some people on Instagram. Like it's like always something to do. And so actually what I'm finding is that it's not that I'm not working hard enough as an entrepreneur. I'm actually probably doing a little too much. Like, not, like, because even this whole week, I probably worked till 8:30 p.m. And that's not, like, you need a personal life. Like, you need to be learning. Like, I like to listen to podcasts, haven't been listening to any because I'm just, like, doing, you know, like, doing a lot. But I think a big thing that comes with that, too, is, like, me saying, okay, you're going to work from 10 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m., and you have to get your shit done during those hours. Because if not, then I'll, like, make some food or I'll, like, vacuum the house randomly. So, like, working from home is kind of hard. Like, it's all glamorous and everything, but sometimes... Because
you can work in your pajamas or whatever.
But now I'm like, okay, like, actually get up, and I try to just put some makeup on and, like, change because I have a better day. Because if I'm just in my PJs, I feel like it's all that energy change.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that. And sometimes that's why I got to get out of the house too and, like, go to a coffee shop or something like that.
I'm like, oh my God, I, like, need to go on a walk. Like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah, for sure.
And then your personal life starts getting a little mixed up in work. Like, you'll be sitting, like, and Chad works from home as well. So, like, we'll be sitting next to each other sometimes. Like, he'll be on his laptop, I'll be, like, Instagramming or something. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, you know, I'm like, I realize that we're just working. It's, like, during the day. But it's also, like, you kind of want to, I don't know, it gets a little tangled sometimes.
Definitely.
So, like, sometimes, like we decided on, like, this Sunday, we're, like, going to have just a day where we literally turn off our phones, leave them at home, and we're going to, like, go to the farmer's market together and just do things, like, that are no work, like, get out of the house, like, so working at home has been great, but an adjustment for me, because just bartending, like, I've never had it, like, a real job. Like, I've never had to even be on time. Like, like, every bar I've ever worked at, like I was always, like, a pretty good bartender, so, like, I would get away with whatever I wanted. So, you know, if you're not feeling it that day, you can get your shift covered or whatever. So there's no like showing up, like, so it's a massive change.
It makes sense. And it's kind of weird, like, because I've definitely had I've had a bunch of different jobs. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But, like, there's some jobs where you definitely feel more flexibility in showing up and all that, and it's definitely different than, like, some other jobs where you, like, feel very intimidated by the boss, or you're, like, really stressed about, like, the work you're actually doing or whatever, so you, like, really have to get there on time or whatever. It's kind of interesting, like, but one thing that I've found, like, being an entrepreneur, like, because when we first started this podcast, I was, like, still working, like, my normal job too. Yeah. And, like, now I've totally shifted. And one thing that I've found is, like, the way that you make your client, like, you can make your clients kind of, like, treat you a certain way by being professional and by being on time to the calls. Like, okay, we're gonna have a call at 5:30, like, and if you're calling them at 5:45, then they're
gonna show up the same way in return.
Yeah, but if, like, every time you're, like, setting up the calls at the right time, or, like, you're delivering stuff on time, and, like, that's where I get really frustrated with myself, because I tend to be the person that bites off more than I can chew. And then doesn't deliver on time or whatever, and then I'm super stressed because I know in my head, like, this is not the type of business I want to be running. This is not the type of person I want to be. This is not the type of, you know what I mean? This is not the type of experience I want to be delivering, but I am, because I, like, overcommitted and I didn't say no to enough people. Yeah. And, like, that's really frustrating too, and that's where, like,
saying no to commitments,
because you're like, okay, I know my workload is here. If I take on another client, I know that that's, you know, a couple more thousand that I've got, and I'm like, sick, that's dope. Like, for this month, I can have a little more leeway, but then you're also working, you know, maybe twice as much or whatever, and it's really not good. It's not healthy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Working too much is a thing. And, like, what my business coach says is, like, he's just like, you need to legit, like, have a start to your day and have an end to your day, and then you need to have one day per week at least that you don't do anything. So, like, I've like put that into practice, and so now on Sundays, like, I don't do anything. Like, and sometimes I catch myself doing things, but like it's terrible. But
no, it's
but
true.
I won't schedule any sales calls. Like I won't schedule any. Like my clients pretty much know like Sunday is my day off. Like you just got to be clear with them. And
exactly, being super clear,
upfront. Like because you set the boundaries.
Exactly, like sometimes being an entrepreneur, you have too much flexibility.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
totally.
When should we? For me, when should we record a podcast? I don't know, any day.
Right.
But like if I had like, okay, I always record on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, like then it's, I'm setting myself up for success rather than just like having a sporadic, crazy schedule where I never end up getting anything done or whatever.
Yeah, and batching things. Like you just said, like I'm starting to do that better where I'm batching like my sales calls so that I have them all in like 3 hours or something rather than I'll have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one the next day.
Yeah,
and
like if you can do them all in a row.
Yeah, because
it's
like a thing with your energy. It's like if you can just get them in, and then you're more productive when you batch things.
And if like, okay, the first call, I've got to end the first call by this time because then the second call starts.
Yes.
Then you're not just gonna ramble on forever with that person and just keep the call going forever.
And be more, aware of your time. Yeah.
And also, your clients are obviously paying for your time, but like you've got to kind of be fair with everybody too and like give everybody the same amount of time. The other thing I was going to ask you is like, setting your prices and everything, because that's like a really big thing that I think a lot of brand new entrepreneurs, especially when you haven't ever sold your services or anything like that before, you don't really know your real value. So like what was that like for you, like overcoming that hurdle and figuring out what your like price points were and charging someone for the first time like a really uncomfortable price?
Yeah. So one thing I will say is to any entrepreneurs, like, get help. Like, don't do this by yourself. Like, legit, don't do it by yourself. It's like I tell, you have to do the thing that you actually, especially if if you offer a service, like if you're service-based, you have to do the thing for yourself that you want clients to do for you. So like for me, it's like investing in myself. It's like I'm asking clients to invest in themselves. I need to also invest in myself. So like get the help that you need to overcome all those hurdles. Like what I've learned is just like, okay, my business coach, I was like, wow, that was so valuable for me, and I'm still with them, and I could not be where I'm at right now without them. And they helped me with price, figure out all the pricing and everything, and they also helped me with mindset, like just figure no, like you need to actually charge what you're worth so that you can actually provide a valuable service rather than a basic bullshit fitness program that doesn't actually transform lives. And it's like, like I'm in the business of like actually helping people change their lives. Like that's really what I want to do. Like I don't want to just help people change their bodies. Like, I want to help people learn to love their bodies and also learn to love themselves in the process. And in order to actually do that and like be energetic and like use all of my knowledge and my services and help them with mindset and help them with everything, then I need to be compensated. And it's not like I'm like, pay me more money. It's more like, no, like in order for me to do this for a living and for me to really like be invested in you too, like this is the amount that works really well. And also, and it's not just for me, it's for the client. Like the client needs to pay a good amount so that they're invested and so that they're committed. And I think again, like shifting it from you, like I said earlier, like don't think about charging the price for you. Think about your client. Like think about what is the price that's gonna give them the most value from you. So so not even thinking like let's make the most money here. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. Like I'm trying to figure out the best exchange of value. Because that's what money is. It's just an exchange of value. So what kind of value are you going to provide? Are you going to provide a high value or are you going to provide a low value? And I'd rather clients spend a lot of money on my service that's actually going to get them the results that they want and potentially change their lives rather than literally waste like $300. Like it's like, why would you wait? Like, you would waste $300 or like whatever you pay on some bullshit, than actually getting a value. Like, like people, like I have clients all the time, like this is the best investment I've ever made, And so it's like it's just the value.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, you can't really put a price on like loving your body and being healthy and, feeling strong and empowered and all that.
Exactly.
Like, you can't put a value on that. And if that's what you're actually doing for people and you're giving them results, like, what is your value should be always going up, like
exactly.
You can't put a price on it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I ask potential clients sometimes, if they're struggling with like, investing in themselves. Like some people really they've never actually invested in themselves like in that much. And people are like scared to do that. And they feel like it's selfish or something like, whoa, this is, spending this much money on myself. I'm like, no, like you deserve this. Like you deserve to have a big value come to you, and you deserve to have someone that's supporting you more than maybe you've ever had in your life. And so I'll ask them, like what, if I can tell you that like, you'll be 10 times more confident than you are now. You'll have 10 times the amount of energy. You'll have probably a better sex life. Like you'll be loving your body by the end of this program. Like what, like if you really think about that, put a number on that. Like what is that worth to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, cause that shit is like, health is wealth. It's like, it's not just the health. Like you get healthy and then all of a sudden that's the foundation to like an amazing life. Like it's like, there you go, this bulb of energy, like that's you. And then now you're able to conquer whatever the fuck you want because you're unstoppable because confidence is everything.
Yeah. And it's also even like what you mentioned about like, like the confidence and like sex life and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like people sometimes I think like the barriers are like whatever the end goal is, like, okay, I want to look good because whatever. Like, I don't want to just look good for myself. Maybe I do want to look good because I've been single for way too long and I don't know what I'm doing. Like I've been trying my best, but like I can't figure this out. Like no one, whatever. But like it's not only is it like, if I get skinnier or if I get more fit or whatever, like maybe guys will want to like date me. Mm-hmm. It's also like the confidence that being fit and like going through that whole journey brings. Like that's really, really important. I think it's undervalued, like the level of confidence. And I think it's deep down what people realize that they want, but they don't like know that that's what they actually want.
Right.
Like kind of like
exactly.
Yeah. Like kind of like Richard. He's a lot of people listening to this know Richard. He's one of my guests. He's in a wheelchair, but he's like jacked. He's like a bodybuilder, and like having that level of confidence where it's like, yes, I'm in a wheelchair, but I'm also like more fit, like in my upper body than the average person. Like way more than the average person. It like gives a level of confidence where people are like, what the fuck? Like, look, who's this? This guy's more jacked than me. What am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of cool when you can, be noticed for like being, whatever.
Absolutely.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, your body is you look. I mean, appearance, like you meet people and that's the first thing you see. And it's not just like, oh, wow, they're really sexy or like they look great. It's really like, oh, they like take care of themselves really well. They get a lot of sleep. They put good foods into their body. And like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So they'll probably be a more, say you're dating, like you see someone who looks good. It's like, oh, that's a level of like self-love that it takes to get to that point where your appearance is really nice because you're taking care of yourself. And so I think that's kind of, it's not just the looks, but it's more like, are they taking care of themselves enough to take care of me? Or like, are they fulfilled enough, confident enough that's going to translate to me rather than them being like needing something or they're not very true. Fulfilled yet,
Yeah, that's very true. Like when you go over to someone's house and like you can tell like everything's a mess and you're just like, whoa, what did I just like step into?
Yeah.
Like they're obviously probably not used to having people over. Like what does that tell me about them? Or like, their room is really messy and smelly and like whatever. It's like, what does that tell me about, what about that person? And it's really important because like you said, once you kind of got into fitness and you started like reading books and stuff like that, you just started making your bed and like getting your shit together because you're like, I just felt like that's what I kind of needed to do.
Yeah.
And like you can kind of tell when you walk into someone's house and they're like, shit's all fucked up and they've got empty wrappers and pizza boxes everywhere. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can tell a lot about you now just by like walking in your place.
Right.
Like, it's weird, but it makes total sense.
Yeah. And also, like, I used to be that person. Like, I used to be a person where I never made my bed. Like, I smoked weed every day for, like, 3 years. Like, I would go and drink. I was eating fast food. Like, dude, embarrassing, vulnerable story really quick. I woke up one time sitting up in my bed with all my clothes on, with fries in my mouth. That was a very low point of my life. Like, that was
Was it a wake-up call at all?
Yeah, it was. I was like, oh my God, like, this is so bad.
Were you in your bed?
I had been I was sitting straight up in my bed.
Oh,
like,
gross.
Boots still on, like, and I wake up and I was like, there's like fries sitting next to me and there's like fries like all over the bed. And I literally was like half chewing a fry. And I woke up and that was in my mouth. And I was like, okay, get your shit together, Ashlyn. Like,
yeah. You were definitely, I feel like back in the day, you definitely went through like the hippie kind of like phase where you were like just fucking like smoking weed and like going to music festivals.
And like, oh God.
So funny.
Yeah. Oh, that's and so I still love music festivals. That's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
That will never go away.
Yeah. But it's sort of like a different thing now. Like it's a different reason, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not to like fulfill any like empty part of me. It's more to like get re-energized and like just be free and like be in community and stuff like that and dance and have fun and play like a little kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas before it was like, you're searching for those, I was in such a low that you search for those high points that like, create those experiences for you because you're not really that fulfilled with your own self.
Yeah, and then when you go home, you're like even more depressed because you're like, oh my God, I felt so much love and like,
and then you go back to your sad life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of people like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of people, unfortunately, in that world.
I know.
That, like, party world where, like, everything's just about the next party and all that.
Yeah.
It's kind of discouraging.
It is. It is.
I feel like certain music festivals are, they have different vibes, too. Mm-hmm. And, like, certain music festivals, like, for example, Tomorrowland in Belgium, it's, like, really expensive and it's, like, kind of this, like, it was really hard to get tickets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of people there that are, like, really have a cool life and they're really positive.
That's like lightning.
Yeah, I need to come to Lightning in a bottle with you.
You have to come.
Yeah,
you have
and,
to
like,
come next
people
year.
are, like, successful and, like, you meet people and you're like, what the fuck? You're, like, a doctor or something? Like, what the hell? And then there's certain music festivals you go to and everyone's a fucking burnout and you're like, everyone's, like...
It's sad.
Yeah, and, like, a lot of times they're really unhealthy, like, a lot of fat people. And, like,
totally.
Like, I mean,
I've been there.
Yeah, it's weird. And, like, you can just vibe out those, like, looks of, like, people that are just fucking, like...
Yeah.
Their whole life is just, it's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely like went through like a period, I feel like. And now you're like totally LA girl, I feel like.
I know, it's
you were talking about it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so fucking LA. You guys, like in a year and a half, you came out to LA and you were like a bartender. Now you're like in the fitness industry, living in a new apartment in Venice and like, I feel like you've definitely embraced the LA lifestyle.
Well, it's cool because, like, sometimes, I mean, every day almost, I, like, kind of just have, like, little moments where I, like, look around at my life and I'm, like, I get, like, goosebumps because I'm, like, whoa, like, I, like, have created this. Like, this, every single thing that I am living right now has been a dream of mine. It was a dream of mine at one point. One, living in Venice. Two, like having an amazing, like, loving boyfriend. And then, starting my own business. Those are like three huge things that I wanted for so long, like 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and now it's created. And it's crazy. It's like, you know, you manifest these things, but it's not just like some magical, like, oh my God, I'm going to manifest this shit. It's like, no, like, okay, you have a dream. I know, I'm sorry. There's just some people that kill me, like.
Yeah, keep going.
Like, yeah, but it's like, no, like, you have these dreams and you just you're just like, this is going to happen. Like, exactly. I don't know how. Like, I have no fucking idea how, because I'm here and this thing is here.
Yeah.
But, like, just, I'm going to do it. And you just believe that it's going to happen. And, like, you take action. Like, you move to LA and you, like, you get a business. You just try different things. Like, you fail. Totally. Like, and you just keep going. Like, and then it's created. And you're like, whoa, like, I did that, but like, it wasn't just me. There's like something that, you know, you're working with that wants you to succeed if you believe in it too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's really, really powerful. 'Cause like the manifesting thing, I totally agree, gets overplayed with a lot of people. Like, I manifested this water bottle, or like, I fucking like, no, you went to the store and bought it, bitch. Like, you fucking like, what are you talking about? But I agree with a lot of what you're saying as far as like, because I'm the same way right now. Like I woke up the other day, I was looking around, I'm like, this is fucking dope. Like, a lot of people don't really know, but I'm out here in LA right now for like 2 weeks with my friend, and we're making videos, and we're in a dope like Airbnb in like a really cool area, and I haven't even been home since last year. Like what and is my life? You know,
and
like
doing cool things.
And that's like what I wanted the podcast to be, was like a catalyst for me to travel more and experience more, and like it's really dope. Like this whole year already, and you know, it's January 18th, and like it's like 18 amazing days. Like I woke up on the first day in Arizona, then I went to California and visited you, and then I went to Hawaii, and now I'm back here, and Richard came out here, and like it's just so dope, because I'm like, holy shit, like my life is so weird and cool and crazy right now. But I you know, I created it by like, you know, doing things like doing the podcast, and then like making connections by just going out and trying shit and doing shit. Like, you know, in Arizona, I hung out with all these people that are from all over the country, but I met them because I like went to music festivals or whatever, or you know, through the podcast got connected with them, and you know, we've been friends for a really long time, but like there's definitely friends that we both were friends with at that same point in our lives that we're not friends with anymore. So like, why are we still friends? And like, why have we stayed connected? And like, it's probably partially because of like the podcast, but also we're kind of like on the same like wavelength with certain things.
I would say it's because we're both very like, we've grown. Like we've grown almost together at the same rate. It's cool. It's cool. I love it. Like, you started your podcast, and then I started my own business a little later.
But no, you moved to LA, like right after.
Yeah, so it's like, dope. It's cool, like, and your vibe attracts your tribe, and, you know, you do have to grow away from people when you're, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a thing that I think a lot of people have been bringing up on social media a lot, is like, recently talking about like new year, new me, cutting all these people out my life and shit. Like I'ma cut all these bitches out my life that are not productive, all you hating assholes, like, you know, like shit like that. And it's like,
I'm like, you better look at yourself right now. Are you productive? Are you creating like
Yes.
Like, look at yourself first.
Yeah, and it's true, because your vibe attracts your tribe, and it's like overplayed, but it's true. You don't really have to actively work on cutting people out of your life. Like, I don't really believe, like, there are sometimes where it gets to an extreme where people are you know, hostile, or they're, you know,
very
toxic
rarely
for your life.
Yeah.
And you got to cut those people out, but sometimes you got to look at like why you're still hanging out with those people and whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, like maybe not necessarily actively cutting certain people out, but like actively seeking out other people that do vibe with like where you're trying to go and whatever.
Exactly.
And like that happens naturally for me, especially with the podcast. Like, I've created a platform where cool people are constantly being attracted and introduced to me because of it, which is so dope, because my whole friend group and circle of people that I hang around with on a regular basis has totally changed for the better. And not to say that like people that I was hanging out with before are like, you know, fuck them or whatever, anything like that. It's just that things happen and like your paths change, and like everyone's on a different path. But it is really cool when you see like why you get introduced and vibe with certain people. And it's also like something that you can't really force too.
Not at all.
You can't like, you know, for example, the girl that was on my last podcast, she was Skrillex's assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like homies with him. Like his birthday was yesterday, and she was posting all these snaps from his birthday party and shit. I'm like, I want to be at Skrillex's birthday party. Like, I want to be friends with Skrillex. But then I'm like, but if I met him, like you can't force a friendship.
No.
Like they got introduced and like they
No.
worked together and all this stuff, and they have a long like relationship. Like what would, like if I was at that birthday party, I'd feel
What would you
awkward as
talk
fuck.
to him about?
And like, you know, like
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone else there. Like everyone else there has been like brought around there because they like worked with him or they're friends with him or whatever, and they're all like at that level.
Yeah.
And like I'm not in that circle, so like it'd be weird. Like it'd honestly be like
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Like there was this podcast I was listening to recently where this guy, do you know Cody Ko? Do you know who he is?
I've heard of him.
He's
One
like-
of my clients is like obsessed with him.
That's
and
so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like he has a lot of girl fans, but I
sure.
think he's really funny.
Yeah.
And he makes like
He lives in Venice, right?
I think so. He
or
lives in
something?
LA for sure.
Yeah.
And he was on his podcast. He did a podcast with Post Malone, and then they went and like hung out. And then Post Malone invited them to go to Elon Musk's house.
Oh shit.
And he like went there, and they were talking about how crazy it was. But it was like straight up uncomfortable for them because they were just
Right.
like, I don't belong here. This is weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Like most people would be
Yeah.
like, oh, it'd be so sick to like go to Elon Musk's house. But then like think about the reality of actually going there.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna talk to him about? What are you
Totally.
gonna do? What are
Like-
you gonna say? Like you know,
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
like your cars. Like
Yeah.
you know.
Your cars.
Yeah. And that's
Joe
where,
Rogan's podcast with you when you smoked weed.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and that's where I think stuff like Hoffman is really cool because it puts people on like a level playing field. Because
Yeah.
like, you know, if I met Skrillex in an environment like that, I'm sure we'd connect like a lot and like we could be friends.
Yeah.
But like, I've never been in an environment with him like that, so
Yeah.
you can't force something that has to happen organically.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why you just have to like keep putting out the best that you can. And that's another
And
interesting.
just be you, because
Yeah.
that's the people that will vibe with you.
And that's, yeah, and like another interesting thing, if you think about like people that come up or like really famous people or whatever, a lot of times they have like that circle of friends that's also really cool and famous. But when they all started, they all weren't famous. Like they started as friends and then they like rose to the top.
Yeah.
And like that's what you kind of got to focus on rather than trying to be like, how do I get in with like, you know, blah, blah, blah guy, or, you know, how do I get in with Joe Rogan? Let's face it, Joe Rogan's like 50 years old. He's a comedian. He has a circle of friends. He's got kids. He's got a family. He's not like actively inviting like, you know, he is actively inviting people into his circle with his podcast, but like as far as like his inner circle of people, I have like no chance. You know what I mean?
No, I mean it's like Aubrey Marcus and like all those
all
people.
the fighter guys
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
you know
yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff and all his comedian friends. So like, but I need to focus on like who are my people that I'm gonna like come up with rather than like trying to just schmooze it up and get in with the big guys, because like, you know, eventually they're gonna, you know, their time will pass and like our time will come. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's fascinating when you think about that, because I think a lot of people try to like ride coattails and they think the only way you can like get to the top is by like, you know, schmoozing it up or like, you know, getting a big shout out or, you know, whatever. But it's like, no, you can kind of, you've got to
I
like
have
do your
something to
thing
say
for a
about
while.
this too. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too is actually just focusing on providing value and
Exactly.
being of service. So if you want to like attract someone of a certain whatever, or you want to get them to do something, I don't know, you have to first like actually provide value. Like
Exactly.
like you can't just take, you have to give first, give, then ask. Like, you know, and so you gotta like frame your mind of like, no one owes me anything. Like, I'm just gonna give first of like whatever you can give. Like maybe you have nothing to give right now, so it's not the time. But like, you know, like even just networking, introducing, like if they need to find a certain person and like finding that person for them, or like that's I feel like one of my good skills. I'm like, you know, if someone needs something, you know, just like, okay, I know this person, like let me connect you with them. And that's providing a lot of value rather than just, you know, certain things. Like it's like asking yourself the right questions, like how could I provide value to this person? And then once you do that, like then they're like, oh, thank you. Like, you know, and then that's a better relationship than just like you know.
Exactly. And that's one thing that the podcast does is, you know, like, I give people a platform to, like, share their message. Like Richard, again, like, he came on my podcast, and today was his today's like the 9th anniversary of when he got hurt. And he was like, dude, like, your podcast is like the first time I ever like shared my story, and like, I don't think if I would have ever done the podcast, like, I'd be so open.
That's,
you know?
crazy.
And it's
That's
really
so cool.
crazy because it was such an easy thing for me. It's just another podcast. But for him, it was like the first time he ever opened up, and now he's providing so much value to the world.
People,
And like, you know, that's another thing, like, even to mention like Cody Ko again. Like, Cody is like a YouTuber or whatever, he makes funny videos, but if it was like, if I stumbled upon his channel and there's only one funny video on there and it's the first one he ever made, the chances of me like sticking around and like watching the second one is probably not that high. Like, the fact that he literally has like hundreds of videos over years and years, that I can look back on his catalog and look at like, oh, what's his most popular videos? Oh, whoa, this one has like 300,000 views. Like, holy shit, like, this one's really funny, or whatever. Same thing with this podcast. Like, I have 110 episodes now, but the fact that I have 110 episodes gives me credibility of like, oh shit, this guy's been doing this for a while. He probably knows what he's doing. Seems like he's pulling in some interesting and cool people. Like, I should probably check it out. Rather than in the beginning, there's only like 10 episodes and they're all just my friends. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a totally different animal now, and it's like, it makes a lot of sense. And I think the same thing goes for you, like with Instagram or anything really. It's like, now that you've had client stories and you have all these experiences and you've you know, you have a lot, like, an archive of like work to show for what you've been doing for a long period of time, like, people can trust you more. The more you give, like, I just try, like, my Instagram is just like, what can I try to give today? What's your take on Instagram? Like, because I feel like a lot of people view Instagram in certain ways, and I almost feel like a lot of people, Instagram is like the only app they like really consistently spend tons of time on. So like, what is your like take on it right now?
Yeah, that would be me. Like, that is the only app that I probably use like the most. I don't use Facebook at all unless I'm doing stuff with my business coach, because that's all like kind of in a group coaching Facebook group. But Instagram, I think you just have to follow what's working. So if Instagram, I mean, there's more people on Instagram and they're more engaged too than Facebook. There's kind of new like stats coming out, especially Instagram stories. Like, people just watching people's freaking stories. And so that's really where the value is at. And I follow Angie Lee. I don't know if you know her.
Boss Babe podcast or something like that.
No, the Angie Lee Show. She has a really big podcast.
Yeah, didn't she? Wasn't it called like the Boss Bitch or something like that?
Maybe.
Rich Bitch?
Maybe
I don't remember.
it was something
Angie Lee
like
TV
that.
is like her thing, right? She's like blonde.
Yeah,
I know who she is. I don't listen to her podcast, but like, she's got a really big podcast.
Yeah. So her Instagram is pretty, like, at this point I think it's like 50K followers, which is not small, not big, whatever. But, you know, I think I followed her when she was like 30K or something like that. And she sold out her entire Pays to Be Brave event just through her Instagram stories. And then she markets her CBD company through her Instagram stories. So to me, that shows me that Instagram is very powerful. Instagram stories is even more powerful. And so if you're not on Instagram, I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Because I don't care if you don't like social media or it's taking over people's lives. Like, dude, it's a part of our life now. Just accept it and just use it to your advantage. Like, and provide, like, share your story and provide value. If you're in any fucking industry, like real estate, you know, art, anything, I feel like Instagram will help you.
I feel like Instagram's kind of like a resume or like a scrapbook almost. Like, people, I'm gonna go find someone's Instagram before I like, you know,
look
do
them up
anything
anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
My clients, you know, one of my clients asked me the other day, she's like, you should make business cards. And I'm like, why? My Instagram is my business card.
Yeah,
like,
why the fuck? I
would rather someone like go and look at my, like, anytime I meet people that I'm like, oh, like potential client possibly, like, I'm like, let's add each other on Instagram, because they're gonna go down my page and they're gonna learn so much more about me than like any resume or anything could like show. You know, they could read any freaking caption and be like, oh, like, okay,
Yeah,
either
like, it's almost like a
I don't
modern
vibe with
blog.
her, or I do vibe with her. Like, that's it.
Yeah, it's like a modern blog kind of where you write like really long captions and
Yeah,
stuff and
I do.
share a lot of value. Do you, like, and some people talk about like captions that like no one reads the captions, no one's doing it, but like obviously like people get value from it. And the people that are just looking at the pictures are probably not your like core audience anyways. Like the people that want to read the captions are like your actual core people. So
Yeah.
if your main focus is to provide value for those people, like then keep writing them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, personally, I love long captions. So that's why I write them. So I'm like, if I want to attract people who are like me, then they like long captions too. And they don't want to just see a bullshit. Like, I feel weird if I just post a photo of me with like, here's me on this day. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. It's like, I can post a cute photo of me, whatever, because that is, Instagram is about looks, that they say that like the people that do the best is like, if you have attractive, visually appealing pictures. And then, and then caption is like value and just like sharing my heart or sharing something about my, what I'm about. And then I feel good about that because I'm like, the whole purpose of my Instagram is like not technically about me. It's more about like my story, I guess, and what I've learned.
Bringing value.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of people, they don't know where their value is. They're kind of just like, I don't know, I don't do anything cool or special or whatever. I just like work a normal job.
Then fucking start figuring out something cool or special.
Or figuring out what you're into, like what type of videos do you watch or whatever.
Yeah. Like the best thing this is what I tell my clients when they're like, well, I don't really know what are my passions? What do I want to do? And I'm like, what are you doing in your free time that you're not getting paid for? What are you researching? What are you looking up? What videos are you watching? And if you're not doing anything, you're just watching Netflix, then you need to get your health taken care of big time. Because once you get your health taken care of, you have so much energy that watching TV is boring. Like, you're like, you see that shit and you're like, I could be doing that right now. I need to go do it. Like, or something bigger and better. So, and that's why fitness to me has been the most life-changing thing, because you do this one thing, you get energy, you get confidence, you change your body, and then you apply all of everything that you've learned during that journey, which is taking yourself from like zero discipline to discipline. You build discipline, you build your mindset, you're like, this is my mentality. Like, I can't, like, or this is stopping me, to like, I can do anything. I just got to figure out how, and so it's like, that's what fitness gave to me. And then you take that and now I apply it to my business. Like, same fucking things, exact same, like everything. And now that I know that I've done that, now I can do anything. Like, I'm like, okay, business. And then it's like, dude, if my business failed, which I already, like, it won't, because I won't let it, but like, I could just take that, apply it to something else, like, da-da-da-da-da.
Exactly.
But if you don't have anything like that, if you've never shown yourself that you can actually do something, then that's your first step. Like, do something. Figure that out. And I feel like starting with fitness is a good way, because it's just like, you are not in charge of anything else except your own body. So you're always in control of your body, what you put into it and what you do with it. So starting with fitness is almost easy. It's hard, but it's easy.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like this is like I feel like we've talked about everything. I feel like this is a good place to wrap things up. Is there anything that you have as like a final message to people? I feel like that was like really inspirational what you just said. But like, if you have anything that you want to say to people that's like, a closing message or whatever, what would you say?
Right. I would say that, pretty much everything that we've talked about, like, I would say honestly, it's okay. Like, it's okay if you are scared. It's okay if you don't feel like the greatest person in the world. It's okay if you have no talents or whatever. It's okay if you don't believe in yourself. Like, it's okay if you have all of these things, because like, I've been there, but you can change. And like, just be open to change. Like, don't, like, it's fine if you feel like you don't know the how or you don't know the tools. You don't even know what your dreams are. Like, that's fine, but just be open to it and take some action. Even if it's the most little steps in the world, like, just take some action and do something, you know, and it'll build. And there you go. And all of a sudden you found your
chilling
dreams.
in LA with me and Ashlyn.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's so true. I love that. Yeah. And it works.
Yeah, it does. It works. One step in front of the other.
Here we go. Well, Ashlyn, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
And
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we'll see you later, everybody. Bye. Boom. There you have it, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Ashlyn, thanks for being a guest on the show yet again. Make sure you guys follow her on social media and everything. She's crushing it on Instagram right now. That's like her main platform. But if you guys made it to the end of the show, that probably means that you enjoyed the episode, which is a good thing. And that means that you should probably go back and listen to some of my other episodes. So the first episode that I would recommend you go back and listen to is episode 93 with Ashlyn's boyfriend, Chad Buchanan. And we recorded that podcast back a few months ago, about 6 months ago or so. But Chad's amazing. He does all kinds of stuff. He's a super successful entrepreneur. He's also a model and an actor. And he actually dropped out of high school and moved to New York at the same time he was launching his first business. And then also ended up traveling the world as a model. Then he ended up moving out to LA to be an actor. He has a really crazy story, and he's a super successful and interesting guy, so definitely go check it out. That was episode 93 with Chad Buchanan. Another episode that I know you'll love is episode 87 with Umama Cabria. You might know her as smallandstrong.fit on Instagram, where she has 100,000 followers that just absolutely love what she does. She's super transparent on social media. She's always giving fitness tips and tricks and hacks and everything. And a lot of people have told me that's their favorite episode of all time. I definitely say it's in probably my top 10 episodes. A lot of people really love that one. And I think that if you enjoyed this episode, you'd really enjoy going back and listening to the episode with Umama for sure. Coming up next, I've got episode 111 with Simon Needham. And Simon is an amazing photographer. He's also a real estate investor. He used to own a company that was like this crazy global graphic company that he ended up selling. And I think at one time they had about 400 employees. He's crazy talented. He's from the UK. He's got a great accent. You guys are going to absolutely love that episode. I also recorded that one while I was out in LA. And funny enough, Ashlyn was the one who introduced us. So I know that you'll love that episode too. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff so you don't miss the episode. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on my website at andrewdeitsch.com. You can find all my social media handles and accounts. And also make sure you share the show with someone that you think would enjoy it. I think one of the best ways you can share podcasts is by taking a screenshot of the episode and then posting it on your Instagram story. I've gotten a lot of engagement from that. People get to see it. They see what episode you're listening to. You can also go, if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify, you can share it straight to your Instagram story, which is pretty cool. And people can just click in the corner and it goes right to the episode. And also, if you feel like being awesome, go rate it 5 stars on iTunes. I know that was a lot of things to do, but seriously, if you do one of those things, I would really appreciate it. But that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.
I woke up one time sitting up in my bed with all my clothes on with fries in my mouth. That was amazing. A very low point in my life.